Anyone? Are we rolling? You know, guys, I like to save the best for last sometimes in these unboxings. Today, I think I'm gonna talk about the first watch, which is the most special watch in this unboxing, but I will leave something special for the end. It's in this tiny little black box. Alex, what is this?
Is that a millinery Starwheel?
That is a millinery Starwheel. You're absolutely correct. I'm gonna start with how this thing works. It's known as the wandering hours, right? So if I go to set the time, you'll notice these discs move, and you'll also notice the numbers changing around on these discs. Therefore, showing right now it's showing 1:15, and it continues on. And these discs do rotate as needed in order to show the correct time. But let's talk about the history of this thing, right? It goes back to 1655, and you're gonna say, well, wait a minute, Audemars Piguet is not even that old. Pope Alexander VII was in Rome and Vatican at the time. However, he had issues sleeping. They did not have Xanax back in 1655. So what did he do? He reached out to Barbabuni, one of his trusted cardinals, and really told him that he's having trouble sleeping. So he set out and went out to the Campari brothers, Italian clockmakers, and explained to them their problem. And they said, okay, we gotta make a watch that A, doesn't tick-tock, and B, he can actually see the time in the middle of the night, because what he complained about is that the tick-tock in the middle of the night. They made a new escapement where they changed the crank to make it, quote unquote, the silent crank. So the tick-tocking problem was solved. So what they did is they actually put an oil lamp inside this clock, which there's a similar one somewhere in the British Museum. They have a bunch of them around. And they came up with this thing called the wandering hours, right? Where there was a little window that had Roman numerals go through that little window that showed every quarter hour. And the oil lamp would then project that onto the wall. So in the middle of the night, when the Pope couldn't sleep, he was able to look at the clock and see what time it is in the middle of the night without listening to the annoying tick-tock. And I don't know if that solved his sleep issues or not. Not sure. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but it gave birth to what we know today as the wandering hours. And this is what AP was inspired by in 1991 when they first came out with this thing they called the Starwheel. Now, mind you, this wasn't a successful watch. It had a very short run. This is another one of those watches that I'm actually considering keeping because this is one of the most iconic designs out there. This very watch that gave Felix Baumgartner from Urwerk the inspiration to create Urwerks. If you look at any Urwerk today, what happens? It's literally cubes go around a circle that change time, which is very, very similar to this, right? It's the jump hour watches, as we call them. And Urwerk, it gave inspiration to Urwerk. And if you fast forward even further, there's a particular Moser watch out there that looks extremely, extremely similar to the Starwheel. So there you have it, a story that started in 1655 all the way out to today. The wandering hours live on. This segment was brought to you by the Roman Sharp. Let's move on to some other pieces that I want to unbox. Rolex. Now that is a beautiful packing job. Rose gold Daytonas. This is one of the very few. This is one of the first iterations of the rose gold Daytona. When they took the Daytona to rose gold, it was this watch and this watch in reverse, where the dial was rose and the sub-dials were black. But it was this very watch that gave birth to the rose gold watch, and it's been being produced ever since in many variations, including this one. Moving right along. Oh look, surprise, it's another Rolex. Oh look, it's a two-tone sub, old school. So not the pre-ceramic. This is one of the later ones. The way you tell is the gold through the buckle. The earlier ones didn't have gold through the buckle. With this guy, you get that neo-vintage look. With the newer ones, it's a bit cleaner, but nevertheless, it's good how these watches, I remember you'd be able to pick them up $45,000 back in the day, right? And they've got more than double in value because the key word there is value. Let's look at an AP, tired of Rolexes. Ooh, hold on. Did we unbox one of these yesterday? We did, but somebody decided to get creative with this watch, and look what they did. So what they did is they utilized bow straps. Now, because normally if you wanted to do this and mess around, that's a cool look. I like that. Back in the day, if I wanted to, I've done this in the past with the older Offshores, you had to get out the screwdriver stand, because old APs that have the two screws, it's a pin that goes all the way through. It goes through the system, it goes through the lugs, and you have to put it down on one of those screwdriver holders and use two screwdrivers to get them on and off. It's a bit of a process, where in today's APs, it's not, which is why whoever owned this watch before got creative with it, and I kind of like that look. Another Rolex. Going back to the Oysterflex, and I like this Oysterflex because of the dial color and the fact that it's white gold. To me, it's just sort of like, it just works, right? I mean, it's just one of those things where I think it just works. I kind of wish that Rolex would take note from AP And Hublot, yes, I said Hublot. Hublot were the ones that did the whole interchangeable straps, easy interchangeable straps. But I'm not sure if they were the first ones that did it. I'm sure there were other companies out there that did the easy interchangeable straps, but it came with like a watch rather than like all the watches or a line of watches. Oh look, it's my daughter, who by the way is back from camp, and she's gonna be coming to work with it. We have a small black box, which doesn't belong to a watch. This is just a generic box that somebody put this watch in, because this is not any watch box. But what it holds is extremely special, and that is the Panerai Radiomir GMT La Scienziato, which is scientific. I know I butchered that because I'm not Italian. A few years back, Panerai came up with La Scienziato, right? And they did it in titanium, and it was set to be the lightest tourbillon in the world, right? Especially for a watch that's such a large case. Now, this isn't the one, this wasn't the first one they made. The first one was in titanium. It was in a case that was titanium blue. I actually did an entire video on one of the watches on my desk where I reviewed that tourbillon. So I'm not gonna get into too many details of this watch. I'm just gonna show you this watch. Now, look at the back of the watch. Guys, I don't know if you guys noticed anything special about this. Well, first of all, note the tourbillon cage that's sort of like suspended in midair as if nothing is holding it. This is a tourbillon that moves across 2 axes, not 1, therefore making it more accurate, because remember, gravity pulls this way, right? So in a standard tourbillon, it only works when it's like this. What makes this watch super special, and this isn't the lightest one, there's a lighter one that they made, is the fact that it was the lightest one, and what they utilize is believe it or not, 3D printing to make this watch. So if you look closer, basically everything that you see inside was literally made with a 3D printer, layer by layer by layer, and each layer is point something other. I know it's like smaller than a hair. That's how small these layers were, and that's how they 3D printed this watch.
Do you see like 3D printing becoming like more and more inclusive in watches?
I think so, because it's just a technology that's useful, but again, useful in what application is the question, right? If you got to make by hand, you see that thin little like a cage looking thing right here? I don't know if you can zoom into that. Like, that's not a thing you can make by hand, especially if it's that thin, right? So obviously all technology is being used in current watchmaking, and rightfully so. The days of a guy sitting behind a tiny little machine and literally making little wheels, those days are over, because we have the technology for that. Does that take away from, you know, that handmade, you know, single watchmaker thing? No, it doesn't. Because at the end of the day, that watchmaker has to make that watch work. This one is the Vacheron, and I hate this box because I know these are the boxes that get all messed up, so I just hope that this one did not. So far so good, but these are the ones that get super sticky. Oh, well, it's questionable, but what this is, see, yeah, never mind, this box is no good. So what this is an overseas rose gold chronograph with a white dial. People prefer blue, people prefer black, but some do prefer white, because I feel like the white dial, let's get all the black stuff off it, does dress the watch up, and it dresses it up well. So, guys, a little bit of history, a little bit of wow, a little bit of technology, a little bit of Alex, who says a lot, and that is going to conclude today's very special unboxing, where I am still going to say that historical, and this is the most amazing watch that I unboxed, and from a modern technology, and it's going to be that Panerai. That's going to be the most impressive, but you guys can comment and let me know what you think. Shout out to who?
Watch stand.
No watch stands here. But shout out to my team. Look at all these people staring at me. Shout out to my team for making these unboxings, Instagram lives, and videos happen. Well, we'll see you guys on the next unboxing.
Can I get a like, comment, subscribe?
Can I get a like, comment, subscribe? No. Guys, by the way, so these are going on the new Luxury Bazaar channel for those of you watching on Instagram. So head over to YouTube, head over to Luxury Bazaar, or Nina put a link up. Show some love on that channel and subscribe. You're a day too late. Want to tell me about the history of this watch?
It's Starwheel.
Yeah, thank you. All right, guys, thank you so much. Like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time.